Hello, clever people, and welcome to my review for North by Northwest. So this Alfred Hitchcock classic follows a man played by Cary Grant who is suddenly, on one day, just a normal day to him, is suddenly taken by a group of people and is put in an absurd situation that after he becomes unintoxicated, which he wasn't during the situation, he tries to figure out what's going on, and this leads him down a rabbit hole that takes him to wild places. This film is currently being shown in cinema. I got the pleasure to see it today at Sunday at 2 p.m. I got the pleasure to watch this film on the big screen, and I was so happy that I got to do that. So in case you don't know, this film, if you've ever seen an action-adventure film that was released in the 60s and after, North by Northwest was inspired by this. This was a staple for action-adventure films that followed after it. It brought, seeing the film on the big screen, you realize, oh, I've seen that before in a modern-day film. Oh, I've seen that before in a 90s action film. Oh, I've seen that before in an 80s action film. This really helps establish that genre. It shies away from Alfred Hitchcock's traditional thriller. Well, also, it is still a thriller, but it isn't just your traditional Alfred Hitchcock thriller. At the same time, it is an adventure film. It has a lot of action, and it was really the first full-on action film that Alfred Hitchcock did. This is commonly considered one of the best films ever made, and one of Alfred Hitchcock's best films. In case you don't know, I am a huge fan of Alfred Hitchcock. I own 5 of his films on here, and I eventually end up wanting to get more. He is honestly my second favorite director of all time. All of his films, they are all thrillers, and they all have similar feelings, yet at the same time, they are very different stories, unique stories, dramatic stories. They are all very, very well done. And North by Northwest has always been one of my favorites of his. So I have to say, seeing this on the big screen, while I don't love it as much as I did, it doesn't really matter, because this film I still absolutely love. North by Northwest is a fantastic action film, a fantastic adventure film, and just a fantastic entertaining time in the theaters. Alfred Hitchcock is commonly said to be the master of suspense, and there's a good reason for that. In different films, he will have different ways of setting up suspense, whether it be a character, suddenly is interested in a certain thing, or suddenly, they build up through, small, minute details that get bigger and bigger and bigger, or a character witnesses something and suddenly they're interested in that. This film does it through, the first one that I mentioned, through curiosity. Cary Grant, he is taken and he's put in a really weird, absurd place, and then he has to try to get out of there while being super intoxicated and driving, which, by the way, is just an awesome sequence. But I love the way that they set up the curiosity. They set it up through uncertainty. He had no clue why he was there. He had no clue what he was doing, and because of how uncertain he was, he got curious. And you, at the same time, as a viewer, were curious because you weren't given the answers on what's going on. You basically start out, for the first minute, it's basically just Cary Grant driving in a car with his, assistant. And I love that they didn't have 20 or 25 minutes of build-up to this. It was practically the first minute right away he was taken, because it takes you by surprise. You aren't waiting 20 to 25 minutes learning about how Cary Grant lives, learning how he goes home and has these cats that he loves and that he takes care of. It's none of that. It's that Cary Grant is a businessman. And that's all you need to know, because the acting performance from Cary Grant, he is very charismatic, and you feel his personality bleed through the screen. And from that 1 minute point, it goes on and it just becomes absurder and weirder, and you're suddenly curious on what's happening as he is, and as it goes on and on and on, you want to learn more about it in the same exact way that he does. And I just mentioned Cary Grant. Honestly, he gave a fantastic performance in this. Again, I honestly don't think that characters need development in films. Development is very good, don't get me wrong. That is a very important part to characters. But when you have actors that are good enough and a script and dialogue that are strong enough to the point that you don't need a whole lot of development, but rather you need to develop their personality, I actually kind of prefer that. And North by Northwest does exactly that. You know who these characters are, you know a little bit about them, but it's mostly the personalities and performances that make them the strong, memorable characters that they are. And another reason that they're such great characters is because of the fantastically written dialogue. Whether it be the banter back and forth between Cary Grant and Eva Marie Saint, or rather it be a very intimate conversation between two villains, the dialogue in this film is exceptional. Not a single line felt dull. Not a single line felt uninteresting. They all served a purpose towards the conversation that serves a purpose to the scene that served a purpose to the movie. They all had a reason for being in there. They didn't just have a line of dialogue that was randomly put in there to develop the characters or something. They all felt natural and they all felt very, very well done. Something else that was very good about the dialogue is the way that they incorporated humor, whether it be through imagery or through conversations. They had humor in this film that fit with the situation. The film did not stop to tell a joke. It did not stop to, it didn't, cut off the tone to suddenly put in a scene where you can have a joke and the character's supposed to laugh at it. The audience is already laughing at the joke, while at the same time the scene is progressing. It's going on, and it's not stopping just for that. And something else I love about this film is, you always get it with Alfred Hitchcock, but the cinematography and direction is just flawless, practically. The way that he directed this film, the way that he showed the situations, how he built up the suspense, how he built some of the scenes, like the crop duster scene and like the monument scene where they're climbing up the monument and all, and even like the car scene, all those scenes, they are slightly intense scenes that Alfred Hitchcock directed so masterfully and shot so well that they hold up today and they are still extremely suspenseful. Even the Mount Rushmore scenes, I was sitting in the theater going like this back and forth trying to get the sweat off my palms because I was in the moment. I was freaked out with what was happening. I was scared. I wasn't sure what was going on. And that's just a testament to how well this holds up. This film was made in 1959, and it still has better green screen than a lot of films, but it's not just that. It's the way that it's shot, the way that they have, angles that are downward and go up, or different shots like that just sort of make you feel the enormity of what they're doing, make you feel like if they tripped and fell, they would die. It's not that they would fall on a different rock, it's that they would die, and you really felt the intensity there. That does lead into one of my issues. I have only really two issues with this film. One of it is that while some scenes, like, the scenes I previously mentioned, some of the other scenes are not quite as intense, and sometimes that bogs down the pace of the film. Because honestly, this film is non-stop, and that's good, because the film should not stop to have a beautiful thematic moment. That is not this type of film, and Alfred Hitchcock knows that. But sometimes when he has those intense scenes that aren't quite as intense as I hope, they sort of bog down the film's pace. And then my other issue is that some things could have been explained a little better. I don't quite want to go into it, but there's a couple issues here and there that I think that would have been better if they sort of just explained it. But even then, those are just really small nitpicks. North by Northwest is still just an incredible film. And you always get it with Hitchcock, he always does it. This film is immensely entertaining. It is non-stop, it has a fantastic pace, and it is just extremely entertaining. Everything that goes on, you're always interested. It's because of the dialogue, because of the way it's shot, it's because of everything that you're so immersed in the experience. And finally, I have to mention it, the ending. I don't want to spoil it, because if anyone has not seen this movie, they need to go see it in theaters, or they just need to watch it on Blu-ray or whatever. But the ending to this film is incredible. It catches you completely off guard, it just shocks you, and then it ends with just a perfect phallic symbol that just captures the entire feeling of the film in just one shot. Another thing I liked about this movie is the villains. The villains are not your cookie-cutter villains. They are not mean, buff guys. They aren't super strong. They don't have huge guns that they're going to point at you. It's not your typical villain. These villains are honestly quite normal. They are honestly kind of just normal people, and they look that way, and they seem that way. They're doing villainous things, yet at the same time, they don't feel like huge villainous menaces. They are just normal people, and that was a really strong thing with the movie. Oftentimes, movies feel the need to make their villains super intimidating by making them strong, but sometimes you can have intimidating villains simply by the stakes of the situation. And that is what North by Northwest does. This film is incredible. It is not a perfect movie. It has quite a few flaws, but honestly, North by Northwest is just a fun experience. It is very, very well made. It's a very rewatchable film. You can look back on it and just find a lot of entertainment in what's going on. The performances are incredible, and I can't help but give this film a 9 out of 10. If it wasn't because of Hitchcock's direction, this could be an 8 or a 7 out of 10, but because of how well he shot the scenes, how well he staged them, and how intense some of them were, he made this a 9 out of 10. Alright, just wanted to let you know that if you enjoyed this review, don't worry, because more are coming like this. I would like to review every single TC film that comes out. I don't want to, there are some that I still can't see, But coming out, you have The Graduate later this month, you have Smokey and the Bandit in May, you have The Godfather and Some Like It Hot in June, and I thought it would be a fun experiment to review those films. So I'm going to review all of those on this channel, and I will give my opinion towards them. I will give full in-depth reviews on them. It'll basically just be another thing that happens midweek. So if you like that, please comment below, let me know. Just let me know if you want to see more reviews like this, because I love talking about the older films that I love, and I bet that you enjoy watching them. Anyways, that concludes my review for North by Northwest. What are your thoughts on this film and Alfred Hitchcock's entire filmography? Comment in the comment section below and let me know. I'm Robert Burke, and this has been The Clever Critics. Goodbye.